I'm not entirely sure whether this Popcorn Junkies is illegal. Anyway, we went to see Mandy. It's a new film with Nick Cage.
Yeah.
And me and your mum watched the trailer. And I seem to remember her going absolutely ballistic in the trailer.
Yeah, she was like, it's sick, why would anybody want to see something like this?
Yeah. So, yeah, this is an action horror film, it's described, though I think that, I'd say it's more a sort of psychedelic, cult... Demonic is a good word, gore fest. It's directed by Panos Cosmatos, who we met. He was there, yeah. He was a fascinating character, wasn't he?
He was really cool.
Hooded, beard, shuffled in, described his childhood, how his parents met, being on the tube in London.
And how grateful he is about seeing his poster where all his favourite films posted.
Yeah, seeing the film where his favourite film, Phantasm, as a kid, was all over the tube. He, prior to this, made a film called Beyond the Black Rainbow, which, when we were there, the programmer of the festival was saying, do you all know this? And all these hands went up. And suddenly I felt very unlike a popcorn junkie. Nick Cage is the big name in it.
Yeah.
But alongside him is Andrea Riseborough.
Yeah. Who looks completely different when she's not playing the part.
She's different in every single thing she's in, isn't she? Yeah, I mean, she's in a lot of British stuff. She's a British actress. And the other actor in this is a bizarre turn, is Linus Roache, who, to English viewers, is the son of a very famous Coronation Street actor. He himself, Linus Roache, obviously a very, very good actor. He was in a film or a series called Priest, done a lot of TV, but he's very English. So to see him in this sort of, what can only be described as a sort of hallucinogenic gore fest.
American, isn't
it? And very American, was bizarre. We established things with Nick Cage chopping wood in a wood. He's a lumberjack.
Yes.
And he lives with his girlfriend, Andrea Riseborough, Mandy. Of course, Mandy, yeah. And they live in a really sort of, I quite like where they live, didn't you? How would you describe it? Sort of like
I don't know, it was like it was weird, it was
like a hut on stilts.
It was like a modern hut, because they had all that glass as well around their bedroom. Yeah. It was a really cool house, so I wanted to live there.
Yeah, and it's all very it's very hippie, wasn't it? It was very hippie. You could almost smell the incense.
It's quite gothy as well.
Gothy.
She was a goth.
We had this strange sequence where you saw shots of what she was drawing.
What she was drawing, yeah.
Yeah, and it would merge with colours. All the shots are sort of infused with colour, aren't they?
Yeah.
I mean,
he loves colour, especially red.
Especially red, yeah.
I mean, the beginning part of the film was really, really confusing.
Yeah.
Kind of in a good way, because when you finished the film, the confusing parts made sense.
Yeah,
because it was quite a confusing storyline.
Yeah.
But the beginning, I was really because it was really loud and there was all these different things coming up, and the title sequence was a bit strange.
Yeah.
We loved that quote at the beginning.
Yes, there was a quote at the beginning.
I can't quite remember what it.
Yeah, I think it's a famous one by some famous rock star about basically being buried in a grave with headphones on and speakers at my feet.
And rock and roll me to death.
Rock and roll me to death. It's a great quote.
It was a really good quote.
We moved into the film, and the soundtrack is a really major part of this film, and it's by Jóhann Jóhannsson, who's the guy who died sadly, the composer of Sicario. Yeah, a very different soundtrack, but it had that same...
I could tell it had that bassy...
It did, didn't it? It had that sort of...
Yeah. It was more 80s, this one.
It was, well, the whole film was very 80s, and I think it's set in 1983. And
you kind of live in the middle of nowhere as well. Like, there aren't many other people around.
No.
So Mandy, she kind of, I don't know, she goes for a walk or something. I thought it was a dream sequence at first.
Yeah, so did I.
But it wasn't.
You can't work out whether what people are doing is drug-induced or just normal.
Yeah.
And Nick Cage himself is always so bloody odd. You don't know whether he's off his head or just completely compos mentis.
We see Mandy walking down this road, which is also in the trailer.
Yeah.
And then this car comes up, which has Linus
Roache in it.
And
his hoodlums.
Yeah, and his weird family.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're family, whatever they are. But they're basically in a car and they pass her, and he like immediately falls in love with her or something.
Yeah.
Not even love though, he just like needs her or something really weird.
Yeah.
And like he wants the other people that he's in this car with, he wants them to get Mandy and bring her to him.
That's right.
We don't know what for.
Yeah.
There's that really scary scene where he was in the bed talking to his mother.
Oh my God.
And then he suddenly went...
Yeah. So yeah, Linus Roache is the head of, I think they're called the Children of the New Dawn. I think that's their cult. So they're a cult. So you've got two things going on. So you've got this cult group where Linus Roache becomes obsessed with Mandy.
Yeah.
Nick Cage, meanwhile, I think we're given the sense that he's a recovering alcoholic, you know, that he's actually not drinking at the beginning. And then Brother Swan, who's Linus Roache's right-hand man, the bald guy.
Yeah.
He's brilliant. He's like the henchman, isn't he?
Yeah,
and he's told to summon the Black Skulls.
Yeah, the guys on the motorbikes.
And at this point, the film just went even... I mean, like it was already started nuts.
I know, and it went even
So how would you describe this? So do you remember that scene where he went off?
There's a scene where they're waiting in the car for these 3 guys.
Yeah, they've blown this strange horn of such and such.
Oh yeah, it's really weird. One of the youngest in the cult, he's like sitting in the front of the car next to the kind of bald guy. He's kind of bored because they're waiting for the 3 guys to come, and he's just like doing up his window and putting it back down again.
He's in that face.
And it's making this noise, and then you see the other guy getting really frustrated, and it's like, oh my god.
Yeah,
like,
so there was sort of really ordinary moments. This is a film of moments. This is a film of scenes that will, I think, have burnt onto my retina and will never leave me.
I know, yeah.
When you see the director, you can well imagine this is in his head.
Yeah.
Or under his hood.
Yeah.
Or in his beard. What transpires is that the most remarkable cauldron of LSD is being constantly produced and given to the Black Skulls, who are now in a constant state of hallucinogenic madness.
Yeah.
We get a moment where they actually kidnap Mandy, don't we?
That was a really scary scene, the kidnapping.
It was really horrible, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And yet, and they use the Black Skulls to help them. So you've got this great scene where at this point, Nick Cage is this very sort of passive character, isn't he? He's sort of just sitting there. And
he's quite chill.
He's quite chill, but even when he's like being screamed at, and then he comes to, describe how Nick Cage comes to.
Oh my god, it's so amazing. The cult come to their house. They want Mandy in the cult because he finds her special and stuff. And they get the 3 guys, and I think they had to sacrifice somebody, so they take the fat kid.
Yeah, the fat boy with blonde curly hair.
Yeah, and they take Mandy. Remember, they got that really big bug, and they stung her in the neck.
Oh yes.
And it made her really high.
Yeah.
Something. And then she was brought into the room where Linus Roache was. He's basically trying to, I don't know what, he was trying to make
they're all
her
off their
join
nuts
the cult. They're all off something.
Yeah.
And
he stands there naked trying to woo her with his musical expertise. Or
but it's not working.
No.
And then she starts like laughing in his face, which was really scary. And he got really annoyed. Yeah. And he did that bit from Blue Velvet.
Oh God, yeah. He turned around. Don't you look at me. Don't you fucking look at me. I mean, he did it. I mean,
he did it so well.
He did it so well. And it was a clear homage to Blue Velvet. What did you think of her laughing? Because I mean, a few reviews... Well, a few reviews have talked about how this was an interesting moment that the director didn't explore, because within her character, she's showing resistance and she's not enamoured, and yet she's been drugged up to the hill. She was the first to reject him.
I mean, I think she was so high that she didn't realise that she was kind of doing wrong.
Yeah.
But I think the joke was that she was laughing at his...
Yes.
Yeah.
Because his rather pathetic penis is dangling in the middle of the shop.
So, which I didn't see.
No. There were great moments where she ducked for cover.
Yeah, I didn't look at like the sexual moments, but the gore is okay because I've seen gore stuff.
Yeah.
So it's quite horrible. They already have Nick Cage kind of wired to like a cross.
You can believe that. It was
quite
quite horrendous.
He was tied up with barbed wire.
Not just tied up. What about his face?
And his barbed wire across his face.
Yeah, digging into his. Oh! Immediately at this point, I'm thinking, I can't wait to see what Nadia will think of this.
God. It's really horrible, but they basically burn her in front of him.
In a sack dangling from her feet. Pretty horrific stuff. And at this point, this is for me, is like, she looked like a chrysalis burning, like the chrysalis of a butterfly.
Yeah.
And this is like a chrysalis moment for Nick Cage, where he really, the film goes from psychedelic, gothic, weird, demonic, really quite creepy and unnerving and unsettling. I mean, truly unsettling in a way that I remember Suspiria, the first film, unsettling me at the age of 7 when I caught it on television when I was a kid at William Dibley's. And then at the point that Nick Cage sees Mandy sort of incinerated, it turns into a completely different film.
It does. It goes, and it becomes his film.
It becomes his film. You're absolutely right.
Because he definitely isn't there much at the beginning.
No, he's not, is he? I thought, oh, is this a Nick Cage who's just put his name to it and he's not going to be in it much?
Yeah.
But then it becomes a Nick Cage film.
Yeah, it does.
But quite a remarkable one.
He basically got off of the cross and kind of walked around like his wounds weren't hurting that much.
That's true.
He seemed okay for being tied up.
Having been stabbed, he'd been stabbed in the liver, and he'd had barbed wire in his mouth and in his hands. He pulled his hand through the barbed wire.
Oh, that was horrible.
And then he.
But I guess the shock and everything.
Yeah.
But he basically has that one shot and scene of him in the bathroom just drinking a whole bottle of vodka.
Oh, that's right, that's right.
And he's like screaming and crying. He was brilliant.
Oh
in
my
that
God.
scene.
I mean, so basically, let's get to the rub of it. This film delivers some top drawer, mental, I mean, truly mental Nick Cage moments that will go down in cinematic history.
Yeah, you can already see it being a classic.
Yeah,
like,
it's
especially
a classic.
that scene in the bathroom.
Yeah, and it's really odd, that scene in the bathroom, because it was really brightly lit.
Yeah, the bathroom's so yellow.
Yeah, he walks in, and just to clarify, just to scroll back, because at this point, basically the film becomes a revenge horror, gore horror fest, where he goes after everyone, and he's gonna, avenge Mandy's death. And in the most colourful and inventive of ways, we've got chainsaw duels.
Really good deaths.
Really good deaths. We've got a remarkable scene that Maddie had to look away in again, where some of the Black Skulls are watching terrible things on television, taking huge amounts of drugs, and he comes in. He makes himself an enormous sort of silver steel axe.
So basically he goes to one of his friends who live quite near to where they live, I think. And he asks for like a weapon or something to use, and it's a crossbow. And he goes, cut through bone like a fat kid through cake.
I had to write that quote down. Cuts through bone like a fat kid through cake.
It's amazing.
That's a remarkable quote. It's that sort of quote.
That scene is so good. And there's a bit where he says he's really dramatic about the cult, and then Nick Cage goes, don't be negative.
I mean, this is like almost... Tarantino's quite precise even in his violence, but he's like the manifestation of cult. This is like mucky Tarantino. This is like really messed up, screwed up Tarantino shit. Gone mental. It's like Tarantino on acid. Yeah. If that's even conceivable.
Yeah, a lot of people are going to be like, oh my God, she shouldn't be watching that.
Oh, absolutely.
But when you're watching it, it's kind of, although it's like horrific and unnerving and everything, it's also at the same time quite laughable.
Yes.
A bit like Tarantino, the deaths are so over dramatic they're almost like, okay.
Yeah.
Because like in Tarantino, when people get shot in the head, it's like.
Well, yeah, when Samuel L. Jackson's head explodes in the car. Although there were some long scenes and there were some scenes that you didn't need and what have you, every single shot and moment was so sort of original, even if it was original in a sort of slightly crass and bad way. That I just enjoyed I just kept looking forward to what the next shot was going to be. What the hell are they going to throw at us next? Yeah. And Nick Cage, I have to say, and you've got to give it to him, he's just thrown himself in at the deep end.
Yeah, definitely.
And presumably has asked questions about his character's motivation and then picked up a sword and just gone charging off into the undergrowth.
I know, it's crazy.
It was bizarre, wasn't it?
It was a really crazy thing. Even I at times was a bit like, oh my God, like what is happening now?
Yes.
I feel like I'm on acid. I mean, you have to really sit there and let go of yourself.
Yeah.
Because it was a really great film and it had really good things in it. But I did get to a certain point, definitely when he got to that big church.
Yes.
I was a bit like...
Heads come off. Heads get squished.
And we can't forget his bit in the car.
Oh my God, and there's a final scene in the car where
his pupils are so big, like his pupils are his eyes.
But he's bathed in light.
Yes, it's like a really bright flashlight on his face.
This film is one of a kind.
Yeah.
It's one of a kind.
It's definitely going to be a classic.
Yeah. And from a filmmaking perspective, the shots are remarkable. The colour palette is like a work of art. The editing is amazing. That wonderful scene where Linus Roache and Andrea Riseborough's face kept blurring back and forth. Almost...
He would stick with things for quite a long time.
He would.
Which could usually be a bit like... Yeah. It worked.
It did work. It was almost hypnotic. It was kind of hypnotic, wasn't it? But there were so many techniques and riffs and innovative little devices used. He was almost throwing too many of them at us. That it was almost like eating too much of a lovely dish. It was like me tubbing through a Nutella pot.
Yeah, there were too many good things.
Too many good things. But then, as you say, it just kind of became a bit unwieldy at the end.
Yeah. Yeah, so it was definitely insane. Definitely know why it was an 18. And although it was gory, like somebody else had said, it wasn't as gory as I was expecting it to be. I really enjoyed it. I mean, it was really crazy, and you do have to kind of accept that it's insane and kind of let go of it and not think of it as this isn't making sense sort of thing. It's not trying to make sense. I loved the colour because I love that kind of neon look, the red and the grey.
I really like the poster.
Yeah, the poster. Yeah. So it was all really, really good, and I thought the acting was really good from almost everybody. I can't think of anybody that wasn't good in it. It's definitely going to stick with me. I think maybe an 8.5.
Oh, okay.
I think.
Yeah.
Because I thought Nick's performance was amazing.
Yeah.
Because he had quite a hard job to do as well. But
I mean, watch it if for nothing else for the scene of his relapse.
So amazing.
Bloody hell! Oh man, we got.
It's when he goes. So he just carries on, even though it's so painful.
I think it might be one of those films that for you was a bit like my Suspiria when I was younger. When you're in your 30s and 40s, you'll be saying to either your kids or younger people, you're going, "You've got to watch this movie. It came out in 2018." I think this is a really arresting, catastrophic, flawed, but brilliant, psychotic, psychedelic gore fest in which, if you like over-the-top Nick Cage, you're going to absolutely love this. You will love this. If you also like inventive filmmaking, you're going to love this. I think it's almost assured a place at the Prince Charles Almost Cinema every month, and there will be crowds roaring. We had a really receptive audience on that.
And it's really funny. Like,
it is really funny.
Yeah, like this guy was next to us, wasn't he? He was like,
roaring with laughter.
It was really funny.
So you're laughing with shock, you're laughing with horror, you're laughing with disbelief at some of the awful, I mean, you know, without ruining the total end of the film, but there's a certain moment at the end where you go, oh my God, is that what happens when an eyeball pops out? Fantastic, I've always wondered that. My best description of this is something your mum said about A Star Is Born re-alcoholism, and I think this is, as a film, a beautiful disaster.
Yeah.
And I think if you go into it thinking this is going to be a beautiful disaster, you're not going to go wrong. So my score is going to be, I think your score's spot on. I'm going to give it an 8.52. I think that's accurate. I think the plot falls apart, but by the time you get to the point where the plot is falling apart, you don't really care. You're just sort of like, Jesus, get the longest chainsaw out in the world and have a fight.
And just to state, it was my choice to see this film. Dad did not force me, and they did not stop me.
So yeah, well done, team. And I'm fascinated to see Panos Cosmatos' next film. How do you follow that?
For more film and family fun, don't forget to click the subscribe button and make sure to click the bell to never miss an update.